Again, so this meeting is just an informative meeting, and also an opportunity for you to put kind of a face to a name with both AJA and MOCA. And so I'm Grace Zuniga. I'm the interim director of Civic Art and Design. I'd asked James and actually the entire AJA staff to just introduce yourselves, because you will be corresponding with all of us through this process.
Hi, I'm James Glassman. I'm project manager. I'll be your sort of direct point person in the next few weeks going forward. And we're very excited that you could join us today.
Thank you, James. Karina, Jocelyn, Linda.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn. I'm the project coordinator here at HAE. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Karina. I'm the systems manager.
Hi, I'm Linda. I'm the financial admin assistant at HAA. Thank you.
Teresa, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Teresa Escobedo. I'm here representing the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs. You'll often hear it referred to as MOCA. Also, want to thank you for being present today. I encourage you to take this opportunity to ask any questions in advance of developing your proposal. Thanks.
So we do have artists on for both the interior mural and the exterior artwork, or site art is what we're calling it. And so we'll kind of be touching on both spaces for creating. So one of the things that you all received in the past couple of days was the A1 concept design proposal. So that was sent via Sign Easy. Many of you all I've seen have signed it. If you haven't, please review that and sign that. You know, once that is signed, you know, you're kind of like officially in this process. And so we want to get this signed over as soon as possible. James, is there anything contingent on those signatures? Like once they sign, they might get additional information, or do they have all the information thus far?
As far as I know, they do. I also sent them the Vera, which we'll go over. And then today they'll also get the non-disclosure agreement. So those are 3 different things we really need your signature on as soon as you can get it to us.
Yeah, so does anybody have any questions about the concept design proposal contract as it stands now? You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. The building has not been built yet, right?
So there's the building where the exterior work and the mural will go has not been constructed yet. It is in addition to a structure that's already there, but where the artwork will go, it's still in construction.
When it's supposed to be finished already? Or
They haven't even broken ground yet. So, but we're looking at March of for your completion, March of 2023. We don't have a substantial completion date for the building as of yet.
Teresa,
I'm sorry. I asked this because the piece is supposed to be ready by then or before that date.
By that date, that's on the last date on that contract that you'll see is that May, or that March date rather. The very last date on the very last page.
And when are you expected from us to begin the work? I mean, is there like a timeline where you said, okay, from here on you have all this time, or we propose our own timeline?
Well, we'd like to see a timeline, but you know, some of the work, a lot of the exterior work obviously will be done elsewhere, and then it'll just be installed. So we don't anticipate you'll be working on it on site. And the mural, of course, you will be, unless it's something other than painted directly to the wall.
So we have on the RFP, we have the timeline schedule, and of course this is contingent on some potential construction timelines. And so a lot of the time with these projects, when construction is happening kind of in tandem of the artwork, there's a lot of coordination between the project manager and the sponsoring department on the city side, and then along with HAA. And so we will have, for the finalists, we will be in communication with MOCA and the sponsoring department as to where construction timeline is and where artist timeline is. Currently, we have that the design contract, which is the second contract within this project, will be released to finalists June 27th. So in that contract, you will create your final design. That final design then goes to the city of Houston for approval, to MOCA's office for approval. Once that approval comes in, artists will go into the last contract, which is the service agreement for commissions. And currently on our timeline, we have July 2022 through March of 2023. So that timeline is really your design, fabrication, and installation timeline for this project.
Okay.
Then typically installation will be coordinated once we know when that date of substantial completion is from the architect and the contractor, because we don't want y'all on site while they're working, unless we have a visit, which we will have eventually. But in general, we want to keep those two distinct, separated.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any other questions about contract?
I have a question.
Mhm.
Well, I guess I see that the dimensions were given for the 2D art, but for the 3D art, do they already have a specified space for the site art? Because that wasn't listed, and contingent upon creating the design concept, kind of need that information. As far as
The
the
site
site.
plan shows a general location, not an X marks the spot. That will probably get developed further in final design, but we know we want it on that public square out front, as noted on that red dot you'll see on the site plan.
Right, but as far as dimensions,
Dimensions,
or scale.
Teresa can speak to that, I think.
Okay.
There are no specific dimensions. This phase simply asks for a proposal. As Grace explained, there is a design phase if you are contracted, which we can determine specific measurements
Okay.
and other utilities that are in the space. But for now, I think there's some flexibility that you can use for your proposal. Really interested in letting the artist have the room and the space to design what you imagine.
Okay,
At
thank
this
you. The reason I asked, because when I build things to scale to kind of match the location and stuff like that, but that's helpful to know. Thank you.
And that's why we like to include those renderings too. You know, as much as we can provide, as much as we have, we want to provide to the artists to give them as much as they can to visualize and express what they want. You know, the space hasn't even been built yet, so it's conceptual right now, but we'll get closer. So.
I just want,
Any other questions?
yeah, me. Yeah. So when we deliver the design proposal, the budget, the estimate has to be very exact, or is still flexible for next round or something?
There's a bit of flexibility in the timeline. So what
In the
happened?
budget, you said the budget.
Oh, the budget, sorry.
Yeah, the budget.
Yeah,
How precise, how exact should it be at that point?
relatively precise, although you will have the opportunity during final design, should you be the finalist, to resubmit a project budget based on any new information that comes about for the project specifically that, you know, might not have been, you know, scale, I think is a good indicator of that, right? Like anything larger or smaller is going to be a different material cost and things of that nature. So you will have an opportunity in the final design portion of this, should you move to that round, to revisit your budget. Any other questions about the first contract that you all have signed? So the other thing that James mentioned was a non-disclosure agreement. You've all been asked, I believe, to sign that. If you haven't, that is forthcoming. And really, these projects right now are just to be kept confidential. And so we ask that you sign NDAs so that you're not posting on social media or putting it out, in any kind of like publication anywhere public. We also keep the project confidential until the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs announces anything. And so as we move through this process, and should you become the finalist, there will be an opportunity where it is announced to the public. So we'll just stay communicating about when that actually is. So for now, we just ask you to keep this project confidential and your participation in. I know that James also mentioned, I think he sent over a link to sign VERA waivers. We appreciate you signing that. Although, James, just a note that we won't, for future projects, only finalists will sign the VERA waiver. But thank you all for signing them. So should you move to the next round, you've already taken care of that. And then we also wanted an opportunity to just review the RFP documents. I know that you all got them as a PDF form in an email that James sent over. And so it reflects, the RFP document reflects the submittable link. And so we really just wanted to like open it up and see if you all had any specific questions. I think the biggest thing that changed between the two RFPs, or not changed, but was added, were these possible themes that the artist could address, which are, but not limited to, and again, these are in the request for proposals, thinking about your work as art about and for the people, the identity of the neighboring community as a whole, an empowered citizenry, shared space creation, and strengthening the relationship between institutions, being the Houston Fire Department, Houston Police Department, and the public. And so those were the major additions to the panelists. So for the RFQ portion of this, there were 3 arts professionals who scored your applications. In this round, there will actually be 5 panelists scoring. So we have the 3 arts professionals in addition to, I'm sorry, in this instance, there'll be 6. In addition to 1 representative from the Houston Fire Department, 1 representative from the Houston Police Department, and then a community representative. So there'll be 6 panelists reviewing your proposals, and they will be within the request for proposals. Actually, I'm just gonna, if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna share a screen really quickly while I'm talking, just so you have a visual. You don't have to just like stare at my face talking to you, because I have the RFPs pulled up here. So these are, as you're building your proposal, these are the 6 parts of the rubric that the panelists will be, the main parts that the panelists will be looking at. So they'll be scoring on if the artwork is responsive to the history, culture, and identity of North Belt, if the artwork is family friendly, suitable for public display, and free of safety hazards, that the artwork meets or exceeds City of Houston ADA requirements. This is especially important for any outdoor 3-dimensional artwork where the public's going to be, under or around. Artwork should be resistant to graffiti and vandalism and require minimal maintenance, that it has an expected lifespan of 20 years, and that it should make a significant addition to the city's civic art collection. Again, within this RFP, you have the information about the location and site, and then the specific budget. So the budget for the mural was $30,000. The exterior site art was $400,000. And then these are the proposal requirements, which we said we were going to go over here. So some of you may or may not have joined us for the artist info sessions. So one of the things we cover in that is that the budget of whichever project that you are moving forward in of $30,000 is all inclusive of your design proposal, any of your artist fees, the design of your work, insurance that you must carry while under contract for this project, any potential software, studio project administration, if you have a studio assistant, their fees, any travel. I know some of you all are from out of Houston, so you need to kind of think about what your travel costs are going to be. Fabrication, all your materials, all installation costs, and then all required documentation. And so really when you're building out your budget, you need to think about all aspects of both project construction and completion, but also the front end of that, which is like some administrative work. I'm gonna pull up the internet really quickly. I know you all received this, but if you visit the Houston Arts Alliance website and you go to funding and services, public art opportunities, at the very bottom, we have listed a sample artist budget. And so while you do not have to use this document, it is simply a guide for you and a really like strong starting guide. So I would definitely utilize this tool as you're thinking about the budget for your proposal.
If I may emphasize that what Grace just said, especially if we're looking on an exterior piece of art, engineering costs, fabrication costs, those are really going to be big ticket items for the artist. So those are extremely important to make sure you've got it covered, because you don't want that bill and not to have taken into account. So engineering is a good one too to remind people about.
So that's the budget. Within the proposal requirements and what is listed on submittable, you will be required to upload a project narrative. Again, this is all details concerning your proposal and your concept and ideas, along with digital images, any renderings or mock-ups that you create to really like illustrate, if you will, your idea to the panel. Again, the preliminary budget, which this is linked to the sheet that I was just at, and then any preliminary considerations of maintenance for your design, and then any other presentation materials. So what happens is you submit your proposal via submittable. That submission then goes to panelists to review digitally and on the computer. But we will be, if we haven't already, we'll be sending out dates. What happens then is the panelists score, and then you are able to give and required to give an artist presentation. So this happens virtually, and you are really presenting what you submit via submittable to the panel. It's a 30-minute call, so it's 15 minutes of your presentation, and then it's 15 minutes of Q&A. So that gives the panel an opportunity to ask you any questions about your budget, about your project, about the renderings that you submitted, anything that they have kind of like outstanding questions about your project. And so that is currently scheduled for May 12th. And that will be in 30-minute increments. And so James will reach out and he'll work with you to figure out what time on that day will work best for you. You don't have to be there for the entire meeting. You're only required to be there for the 30 minutes that you present. And then, on the RFP, any questions in this interim, you can reach out directly to James. For this part of the process, the mural semifinalists will receive $1,000 design fee, and the exterior will receive a $2,000 design fee. And that, that's really because there need to be some engineering considerations, and it's in line with the budget where it's like 30,000 versus 400,000. James, is there anything you want to add to that?
I want to say that those design stipends are not part of the final commission, so that they don't need to be in your budget.
Great, thank you. Again, this part of the contract will only be relevant. The A2 and A3 contract will only be relevant to the finalists. So there will be one finalist for the mural and one finalist for the exterior piece. And the first contract is a final design contract and the second contract is a commission contract. And we'll, like, as we move through this process, we'll give you more information as to what the payout structure is, and, you know, like how that's relevant to the timeline of your project. What else, James?
From this, I think you've got it all covered.
I do want to pull up submittable really quickly. I think I'm in the, let's see, I'm in the exterior site. So again, this is just information about the location and the area here in Houston, under location site. James linked some demographic information here, the proposal requirements, and then this link obviously goes into your application, where you might have included some of these things in your qualifications portion of this project, but it's an opportunity for you to update any information should you need to. Put all your demographic information, and then this is where in submittable you'll upload your application. Basically, one of the things that we're doing this go around and we're starting to implement is that we want to give you all the opportunity to do a mock presentation. I mean, for me personally, from experience, you know, jumping in, giving a presentation to potentially 20 people, it can be nerve-wracking. So we want to schedule, right now we have tentatively May 10th as a date and opportunity for you all to schedule with us. And it's going to be very much a day of, like, we're going to jump on a Zoom call. We'll ask you to present your information, and then we'll give you any kind of feedback about your presentation and presentation materials. I would like to be very clear with everybody that this isn't a critique on your proposal or your concept or your idea. That is not the space for the Houston Arts Alliance to give you any feedback on. It is strictly up to the panel to judge that or to score that. And so we are simply giving you an opportunity. It's totally optional. You do not have to do this, but just giving you a chance to present your information to us before going in front of the panel on the 12th. So just want to throw that out. We'll have more information for you. I'm actually going to stop sharing now. And I think there are a couple of questions in the chat. Yes. Yeah. I mean, so Tamara's question, she asked if they would be allowed to add more assistants than originally submitted. You would just need to work that into your budget. The contracts that we are going into, or we're going into with you as Maida Zamora artist, we're not going into the contract with any of your assistants. And so you would just need to kind of like facilitate what that looks like as far as your budget is concerned. Do you guys have any other questions for us?
Yes, I have a couple. I would like to know if it's possible to get more detailed architectural information from the building, because those views renderings that you send us don't give us a lot of information. I mean, height, and even the floor plans doesn't even have any measurements. So it would be a big help to see if we can get a little more detailed information on the whole area.
I'm happy to go dig into more drawings for you with dimensions. I could get elevations too.
Yes.
Again, not everybody can read architectural drawings, so I wanted to keep it kind of simple at first, but yes, we're happy to provide those to you.
Thank you, because I'm doing a model actually in 3D, so it can be easier to play with the views and everything, but still I don't have enough information for that.
And in fact, to your point, your exterior art, but in the case of the mural, maybe we're a little ahead, but that wall has changed a little bit. It's now one long wall instead of one with coves. So the new elevation reflects that original rectangular space, but we are now allowing the artists, if they prefer, to extend to both edges of that wall, which include a servery window and the door itself, all in the same plane. Again, that's going to be to the preference of the artists.
Did you
Okay, and the other question, sorry, the $2,000, when are they going to be available to the artists? The $2,000 for initial expenses and everything.
What does the contract say, James?
I'd have to dig into that, but I believe it's after you present, we get your invoices.
Okay.
Let's see. So while I'm looking for an exact answer to that question, I just need to look at a contract. I just wanted to ask James, did you include the rendering with the additional wall space on the contract? I thought I saw it somewhere.
I did. I just updated it, and it should be in the contract. Yes, that's what I was waiting on.
Okay. And then is there any, and this might be a question for Teresa as well, is there any way that we can get what that additional square footage would be for them? Like, I know we have, go ahead.
I'll calculate that for you too.
Okay. That would be, I think that would be really helpful for them to have. What other questions are there? Sorry, I'm looking for the.
I have a question. I guess as it pertains to the 3D art, I know we say it's going to be the 3D art. It can implement structures as far as seating and planters. As far as the foundation of which we'll start, would that be part of what we would include in our budget as far if we need concreting, pathing, or anything like that? Or will there be a standard foundation that's already provided for us in the area, and then we build on top of that?
That's up to the artist, but there is a concrete courtyard out there that we can get you engineering drawings. But if you are creating something that has protrusions, a base would be a great way to keep people from getting snagged on it. If it's a big square, a big cube, I'm not advocating that shape, but that is not going to have anybody snagging on it. That won't need a base, but a base is a great way to provide a buffer from people walking around it or even climbing on it. But yeah, your base would be your, part of your commission.
And then Teresa or James, can you guys talk to lighting a little bit? If there are any plans for exterior lighting, if the artist should consider lighting, what that looks like for them?
So there are no current plans for exterior lighting. That is the responsibility of the artist to design around the artwork. The architectural and design team, if requested, may be able to provide a conduit, but anything outside of the typical construction plan for architecture will need to be covered by the artists. So I would, even to your last question, I would create a budget for everything that you need. And then in the design process, what happens is that we sort of negotiate those points of connection with the architectural and design team so that we can integrate everything as smoothly as possible. But I think a very conservative proposal would be to include those costs on your end in the first place.
And in fact, I have communicated with the architect to provide conduit, just conduit, not anything else, no fixtures, nothing. So they know, and they want, they're looking forward to seeing this art out there too. But that is not part of the budget, no.
And then,
I'm sorry, Grace.
no, I was just, it says on the, or it's stated on the proposal budget template as well for permitting. So that's something else, especially for the exterior art to consider in your budget. Sorry, Maida.
That's okay. Would the 2D artist interior have to worry?
Oh, you cut out.
I was asking about lighting for the 2D inside. Would we have to include that also? I mean, it's interior, so I'm assuming there's already going to be lighting.
There is lighting, and I could provide you with a reflected ceiling plan, but they do not. The lighting plan does not have a direct lighting to the mural. It's a big community room with typical sort of office fixture, a grid ceiling. But as far as like a track lighting or spot lighting, no, it is not there. I don't think we've really talked about if it would need it because it's so large. If it were a single piece of art, maybe it gets a direct light, but such a long piece of art, unless your vision unless you've got something in your vision that includes something really wonderful with lighting, it's just your typical sort of office lighting.
Okay. And then another question as well would be, would we be allowed to have access to some photography from from Houston PD and the fire department that we can use for photo references? I was concerned because of copyright.
We can certainly request information like that. Do you mean in to develop your proposal, or should you advance to the finalists phase? At what point would you request this material?
I would, as soon as I get off of this, I would probably request it sooner than later because I want to put it in for the May 6th proposal. I would like to include portraits of people from the fire department, maybe some first responders, but I want to use real people from Houston.
Okay, we can make that request. We'll do our very best.
Thank you.
Both departments are really excited about the prospect of these two art projects. So I gotta say, I bet they are going to be very happy to hear from an artist to help them out.
And then we'll go ahead and share that material with all the artists across the board.
One thing that Maida just said that made me just kind of, I wanted to make sure to mention this. The submittable link is, the deadline for submittable is May 5th. The deadline to get your materials to James is May 6th. And the reason that we ask you to send your materials that you're uploading to submittable to us is in case there's some crazy technological thing and you can't access submittable, or you can't access your presentation for some reason, your computer crashes, that we just have that information for you as a backup should you need it. So just want to make that clear that the form on submittable will close on the 5th, and then deadline to get your information over to James is the 6th.
And right after that 5th, we get our panelists on the task of reviewing your work and your submission. So they get a nice week to think about it, score it, maybe think about it a couple times. But that's what that week is for them to dig into what you've submitted to us.
Any other questions for us? Again, we really just wanted this to be an opportunity for you to ask any of these questions and have like a clear idea of the next steps and what this process entails. Karina, Jocelyn, are we missing anything? No.
Not that
And-
I can think of.
Go ahead, Karina.
Not that I can think of. I do just want to reiterate the mock presentations, and if you have any interest, please let us know so we can go ahead and schedule that sooner rather than later.
Thank you.
Again, it's voluntary. It's a dress rehearsal. It'll hopefully make your presentation to the panelists stronger.
Teresa, was there anything else you wanted to add from MOCA side?
Yeah, I'm just going to talk a little bit as a reminder about the goals from the sponsoring department. We call HPD in this case and HFD, Houston Police Department, and Houston Fire Department, the sponsoring departments, because it is their civic art dollars who are funding these opportunities. Their hope for this artwork is that it truly is welcoming, and that it truly is, and I'd say our hope too, is that it is truly representative of the community. Even though these are going at HPD and HFD facilities, in our minds and in our philosophy of this program, these are artworks for the community. So I really want to encourage y'all to keep that in mind. The hope is that art can build a better relationship between those who protect and serve us and communities. And so these, again, the mural will be in a community room and a facility made available for community use. Oftentimes in an HPD facility, that's, gift donations at Christmas, same for HFD. Think about the kinds of public programs that you might see in really healthy communities that have healthy relationships with those firefighters and police officers. So this is an opportunity to begin to create that kind of atmosphere so that those kinds of relationships continue to evolve and get built. And the same for the large and very substantial outdoor piece. It's something that is meant to be welcoming and inviting people so that there is a sense that though these are somewhat seem like private spaces, they are indeed public spaces meant to serve community. So just encouraging you to keep that in mind. I think there's a lot of opportunity within these projects to make key statements about what those relationships are and what we would like for them to be. So I wish all the best of luck as you develop your proposals. And once again, I am receptive to supporting y'all with any information I can provide from the city. So don't hesitate to ask.
I'd like to also add that in doing research on the community, I encourage any and all sorts of ways to create a community outreach plan or your own research techniques, maybe even visiting the job site, even though it's pretty woodsy. The fire station's there, and it's kind of hard to stand on the street and visualize the new police station. But any sort of things that you can think of to help you get inspired by that neighborhood, that collection of neighborhoods, that part of town, that part of Texas. We encourage all of those opportunities that you might come up with on your own or that you've used in the past to help you find a great solution to this art question, I guess, it's a challenge. So there are lots of different ways to go and find those, and we encourage you to do plenty of digging on your own.
Thanks, James. Actually, you reminded me of something, and maybe Teresa, you'd mentioned that there might be a possibility for the artists to do ride-alongs, and I don't know if that's still an option, but that's something that we can keep you all kind of abreast about with information should you want to schedule that, if it's still an opportunity for them.
It's been mentioned in the past, and we know that the HPD said that they would love to offer ride-alongs. It's just something we have to circle back on and coordinate. But yes, I have that request into HPD, whether each proposing artist could spend a day. James and I each went on a ride-along, and it is really helpful in informing what the day-to-day experience is of an officer, but also really kind of where they are in the community, what's residential, what's commercial, what they see often, and where there are opportunities for better relationships. So we will continue to press on that inquiry and see what we can coordinate.
And to reemphasize what you said, this could be a magical, wonderful opportunity to create the signature landmark for this neighborhood, which is sort of a patchwork of other neighborhoods. So, dream big. This could be the single landmark for that neighborhood. And, the sky's the limit, really. So I say that because the neighborhood doesn't really have a signature landmark at the moment. So that's where this void could really be a great challenge and opportunity for you.
Thanks, James. And Teresa.
Is there any more information, James, that you think is ideal to share? For example, what comes to mind, what we learned on the ride along is that there's not an overwhelming and super strong identity in this area. Locally, it's called Greens Point or the North Belt. It's called North Belt because it's north of our beltway, our tollway, the north kind of edge of it. And what we learned, one thing that stood out to me when I went on a ride along was that it is a neighborhood of many transplants. Many people who move to Houston move to this area because it's affordable. And then they move in a couple of years from this area to perhaps a residence elsewhere in Houston. And so we would say it's a community of new Houstonians, so people who are just moving here to the city. It's not perhaps an area with a lot of long-term residents. And so that does affect the character and nature of it. And so those are the kinds of things that you could probably glean from a ride along, but also I would encourage you to pursue that kind of information on your own to really get a sense of what is there.
There's a high school and a public library nearby, which might give some clues, some places to start, or some great ideas too that nobody's thought about yet. And I think I could speak for HAA, hopefully for MOCA and fire and police. Everyone really wants something that is exciting and captures what this collection of neighborhoods could really be. So the solution's out there somewhere. I hope it's not too hard to find, but the high school and the library might be good places to start looking around too.
We did have another question come in. Gregory asked where he can find the exact dimensions for the interior mural. So at the end of your contract, James included what was included in the RFQ. There's additional square footage that has been added as a possibility. He's going to calculate that for you all, and he'll send an updated rendering.
And again, you can limit it to those dashed lines where we originally had it, but now that it's all in the same plane, if you understand, there's no coves or cuts. It seemed like an opportunity, not required, to use the window or use the serving window and the door. Maybe it's part of the design, maybe it's completely ignored. Who knows? We want to let you come up with a solution or none at all.
And I'm sorry, I'm just going to share my screen one more time for him. So I'm right now I'm on the RFP for the mural. There's a link here that says see drawings. If you open that link, Gregory, there's an additional PDF with the current site plan and elevation, which I understand in the contract, like this kind of like backward H and this like C shape are the additional spaces. And again, James is going to work on figuring out what that square footage is and dimensions are for you. So expect an updated.
The contract reflects that, but that's the link that we need to update.
Yeah, reflect an updated elevation for this space. Do we have any other questions today? Great. Well, I have on here that we will get dimensions and elevations to the artist for the exterior site. We'll put in a request for images with HB and HFD for muralists. Teresa will just keep us updated on potential ride-alongs that may happen in this process, that might not happen until we have our finalists. So we'll send you information about that. And then again, I just want to reiterate, like, within this process, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to James as we move through this. And then we're excited to work with you all, and we're excited to see your proposals on the 5th.
And congratulations for being semifinalists too. That's a feat too.
Absolutely.
So much. It was very good to meet you.
All right. You all take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Micah.
Are you gonna stop recording?
Yes. Let me stop it. Thank you.